Hey, so I've just had a somewhat heated exchange on a political forum, and the issue was a video that has emerged somewhere in London. I don't know exactly where, but some idiots decided to burn an effigy of the Grenfell Tower. Whether this was for bonfire night or not, I don't know, but it was very specific. It was the Grenfell Tower. You know, they had big letters on it, and they even had little cardboard cutouts of people hanging onto windows and so on. Well, not surprisingly, this has caused a lot of this caused a strong reaction. Um, I want to talk about a number of issues around censorship, free speech, and all these sort of things. Now, anyone who's followed my channel for a while will know that I have often robustly defended the right to be offensive in the sense that I don't want to live in a society where people are so overly sensitive that there's like thought police, right? But the very obvious thing about this is it's not an opinion, it's an action. And very often I feel with the free speech debate, people get actions and speech mixed up. This was an action. It was burning an effigy. It wasn't just an opinion or a bad joke. It was a deliberate attempt, in my opinion, to cause hurt and provocation. Why do I say deliberate? No, I'm not a mind reader, but you have to look at this logically. It's the same city, a specific event, just over a year on. Now, no one can rationally say that they didn't know what they were doing when they chose Grenville. Come on, it's very obvious. Um, Now, the fact that they put this on online means that it was in the public domain. As I understand it, 5 arrests have been made. Now, people have been arguing, well, what about grooming gangs? What about knife crime? Those are more serious issues. That's true. Um, but there's people on the thread were trying to make equivalencies. Well, what about the Islamists who burn poppies? Well, I was equally disgusted by that. I have consistency on these things. And what I have a problem with is this very, usually it's very hard right wing, not always. You can get some on the left with this mentality as well, who think if you don't share my sixth sense of humor, then you're a snowflake. Then you are overly sensitive. And they have this notion that you have to share their sense of humor. That pisses me off because it's about just knowing right from wrong. It's about just having a sense of values. So I can't even begin to understand the mentality of someone who would try to defend this. Um, yeah, it just it makes no sense to me. I mean, that's why I've never understood the likes of Roy Chubby Brown and Frankie Boyle. To me, they're just playground bullies. They're scumbags. I've no respect for them. I mean, Roy Chubby Brown came out with one about the Bradford City fire. I can understand that people like a certain type of edgy humor, dark humor, but there comes a point when there is a level of callousness that comes with that. Frankie Boyle and Roy Chubby Brown, to use them two as examples, they have built their entire careers over being as hurtful and as low as possible because it's to a certain demographic. It's cheap. It's funny to be provocative, to be rebellious. Um, but I think it's just it's a schoolyard bully mentality. Like I could be as nasty as I want, and that's no one can challenge me. And what Frankie Boyle and Roy Chubby Brown do is they hide behind comedy. Oh, it's comedy, therefore I can say whatever I want. Well, if your response to this situation is that oh, it's no big deal, I would ask certain right-leaning people because it is, frankly, the people I've seen defending it have been right wingers. I would ask them, well, do you would you have the same argument if someone urinated on a war memorial? No, you wouldn't. You'd be pissed off and you would want actions to happen. So there's a hypocrisy there, um, and I think it needs to be challenged. And there is also racism behind it because there are a lot of people who have this idea, oh, well, they were just illegal, so whatever, or they deserved it, something like that. Um, it's sad. It really is. No, I don't want to live in a society where we have thought police, and I don't think these people should go to jail. But nor do I think it should be a case of, oh, well, let's criticize them and that's it. There has to be consequences because otherwise we end up in a situation where we tolerate things that would then go on to result in hate crime. I do think when you dehumanize people, that's the mentality that ends up with hate crime. So burning an effigy of Grenfell, especially with racist connotations behind it, yeah, there's a real problem there. Now, I'm not one of these people that tries to find offence in everything. In fact, I've been very critical of that. But if you cannot see what's wrong with this, then there's something seriously wrong with you. And if that makes me a virtue signaler, if that makes me arrogant and judgmental, so be it. Because that is how I interpret people who have such a low sense of what is acceptable. I don't care if people then turn around and say, oh, you're a virtue signaler. Who am I trying to impress? No one. It's just my opinion. So, really, I'm disgusted that there are people trying to downplay it. As for other problems like knife crime and grooming gangs, those are more serious problems and they need to be tackled. And I can understand people saying, well, five people were arrested over this. Why did it take so long to tackle grooming gangs? And that's true. But that doesn't mean that this is harmless. Let's remember this disaster was only last year, and it's one of the worst disasters in British history. So it's really not harmless. I mean, if any of the relatives or survivors had seen that, I'd imagine, I'm no medical expert, but I'd imagine it could have triggered some sort of PTSD or just very, very, very negative emotions that are beyond just being annoyed. Um, because if we say this is okay, then we're basically saying, as a society, we should tolerate people hurting others with no consequence. And it isn't just a viewpoint, it's an action. So that's my take on it. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.